Oh my gosh. Hey guys, welcome back to the Start, Shoot, Grow, Thrive podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm your host, Xayli Barclay of XayliBarclay.com. I am your video sales and marketing coach. Woo! It is 2021. We are in deep, and I don't mean to put a timestamp to this podcast episode, but listen, we are getting things situated for the new year. One thing that I want to talk about is fear. And so I've touched on this topic a few times, but I feel like I need to talk about fear because as a video coach, this is something that comes up over and over as we grow for my people. So I want to make sure that I am addressing it. The thing about fear is I feel like it comes in two ways. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. I feel like it's one of the biggest things that comes about when it comes to really operating in your highest potential. So many people are afraid of what others are going to say. And they're also afraid of what the people that actually find you are going to say. So let me set up a bit of a vision here. So let's say that you are in business and you are in a phase where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to grow and I know what I need to do in order to grow, right? But when I do grow, there's going to be another beast that I have to worry about, which is what people that I don't know are going to say, quote unquote, the trolls online, because there are trolls online. And I'm sharing today from a place of going through both aspects of, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of success. And the other aspect of, I'm afraid of what people are going to say. And I just figured I needed to talk about this because this is something that stops people from actually getting on camera. I also want to preface and say that, or not even preface, but I want to say that both are connected to fear of failure, right? So the fear of the people that we already know seeing us fail at something that we were bold enough to try, and the fear of trolls seeing us fail at something that we were bold enough to try. So both of these things can cause you to do things that are not in direct alignment with you moving forward or you operating in your zone of genius or in your highest potential. That's a lot of what fear is about. We're afraid to show up as our most successful selves because we're afraid of what the people that we already know, and this could be family and friends and the people that probably follow us on social media currently. We're afraid to show up as the highest version of ourselves or as the best, most successful version of ourselves. And then we're afraid of the people who we gather along the way. Oh my gosh, like they're gonna think, hey, oh my gosh, if I fail in front of thousands of people, what is that gonna feel like? And today's episode is really based on showing you why none of these things actually really matter. So a little backstory is that I was listening to a commencement speech that Oprah gave to, I think it was Spelman students. And she was talking about filling up your cup. And in her explaining about filling up your cup, she was actually talking about surrounding yourself with people that really matter so that your cup will runneth over. And we'll talk a little bit more about this during the episode, but the thing that made her really talk about this was being afraid to grow for the fear of people around you, right? So the people that are currently around you, like I said before, family, friends who might be thinking, oh my gosh, who does she think she is when you show up as your best self? Or, oh girl, this is not you, because they know a certain version of you. So we really need to think about things like these because in order for us to elevate, there's so much that goes along with it. So these both, the two types of fear or the two categories that I spoke about earlier are both really intimidating because it also is connected to us being criticized. We're human and we don't want to be criticized. And like I said before, this is coming from someone who has experienced both aspects and also from someone who teaches other people how to break through these fears as well. But for me, I feel like these two places are where fear really comes from. And Like I said, being a sales and marketing coach, it's one of the first things that we really have to walk people through. So just covering fear in its entirety and understanding that you can and will push past fear, and you showing up on camera it's essential. So you guys know that I love Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in this podcast, I've been sharing about how much that book has changed my life. And not only that version, but like I said before, there's a version that is also written by Dennis Kimbrough, and it's called Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And in there, or not even in that one, I think it's in just the original version, Napoleon Hill says the fear of criticism robs people of their initiative. And so it destroys their power of imagination, it limits their individuality, and it takes away their self-reliance. So let's talk about this a little more. Let's break that all the way down. So obviously, when you are experiencing fear of what people might say or think about you, whether it is in the category of the people that know you now or the people that will know you in the future, the fear of criticism robs people of their initiative. And in saying this is why you have to be connected to a bigger vision of what you would like to accomplish. So it robs you of thinking how far you're able to go or grow, like I was gonna say. It robs you of seeing that version of yourself because you're so stuck in the version that you currently are. And when I think about fear, you know that when we are fearful, the subconscious mind starts protecting us or keeping us comfortable in where we are right now. So it robs you of seeing a future version of yourself or a different version of yourself, or like I said before, the most successful version of yourself. And it also destroys that power of imagination. And guys, imagination is so powerful. For me, I know I love to watch YouTube channels like VYBO. Why can't I remember what VYBO stands for right now? I can't remember. Why can't I remember? Oh my gosh. I will link it down in the description. All right, guys, Future Xayli here. You know I always have to come in as Future Xayli when I am editing because, girl, I listen to my whole podcast. Or guy, listen, I serve mostly women. So when I say girl, that's who I'm talking to. But VYBO means visualize yourself beyond ordinary. And that's so powerful. So like I said before, I will leave that down in the description box so you guys can tune into VYBO as well. I use this channel when I first wake up. I'm not scrolling Instagram. I'm not looking into my inbox and my emails. I am getting my mindset right. And I use VYBO as a tool to do that. So I just wanted to pop in and share that with you guys. But yeah, let's get back to it. But that channel actually definitely has audio of Napoleon Hill and other great authors who have contributed to us really thinking about things in a different way. And so what it does is it also puts visuals to that. And I share this with my students, even in the Start, Shoot, Grow, Thrive Mastermind, where we are able to really visualize ourselves in our best lives. And if you're fearful, you're not able to tap into that visualization or imagination, or like you immediately think it's impossible for you to achieve luxury and beautiful things, and you start encouraging limiting beliefs of I can't have this because it's not good. And that's not true. That is definitely not true. So just being able to visualize what you would like to have or what life would be like as your best self, those things are so essential because it gives us something to work towards. And even talking about limiting your individuality, it means that you think that the quirks that you have behind the scenes or the things that really make you're embarrassed about those things. And in reality or in actuality, those things are so essential because it, one, gives people a real look into who you are, and two, it creates relatability because we're all very similar. There are things that are really similar about all of us. So you don't want to limit your individuality because it's that thing that actually gives people a point of reference, or, oh my gosh, I can relate to her so much because I go through this as well. And it's really about, I always like to talk about polarity, because some people are for you and some people aren't for you. But if you never really show what you're for, then they won't be able to make that choice. And then in turn, it takes away your self-reliance, which means you don't put action towards the things that you really want, or the things that you visualize, or the things that you dream of, because you feel like, I can't accomplish these things. So I hope that made some sense. But listen, we go through the fear of being successful. And so that fear of being successful stops us from doing anything towards being successful. And I'm a big advocate of knowing what you want and putting in the action behind it. So if you don't believe in that success or the bigger picture, or what you're supposed to do in service of other people to make you successful, if you can't see that, then you won't do what's required for you to get there. And so even for me, which is why I love including mindset in the way I teach, is because if you can't see the bigger picture, then you won't do things that relate to the bigger picture in your day to day. And that's something that is super important. So that fear of being successful really stops us from visualizing what that would be like, or understanding how we're actually able to accomplish success on our terms. And I say on your terms because it is on your terms, right? And even the fear of what other people would say, that fear is ingrained really deeply, because we judge ourselves and we talk to ourselves in ways that we would never talk to other people. I'm sure that if you're listening to this, you probably talk to yourself in a way that you would never talk to your best friend, or to somebody else, to a client, or to somebody else. You would just never do that. Example, let's say you overslept and you wake up and you have a project that is due, and you're probably telling yourself, oh my gosh, you're lazy, you are dumb, like you have not even planned this thing out, you're so behind. You would never say that to somebody else. So definitely think about the way that you're talking to yourself. But when it comes to the fear of what other people would say, especially when it comes to video content creation, we use that as a crutch. What is this person going to say about the way I look? Maybe I don't look good enough for them, or maybe I don't sound smart enough for them. And if this is you, I want you to send me a direct message over at Xayli Barclay. And just let me know, like, did this resonate with you? Do you speak to yourself in that way, or do you think in that way? I don't look good enough to create video content. I don't sound smart enough to create video content. I don't even know what to create. When in actuality, you really do, but you probably think it's stupid. And this is just me being really honest here, because I don't speak about things that I have not been through, and I've definitely been through this kind of thing. So I want you to think about that. But fear of what people would say is really you thinking about, I would say, the things that you shouldn't be thinking about, because most of the people that you're concerned with aren't your ideal audience, your ideal customer. They will not even spend money with you. So you need to think about that in itself. Like, the people who aren't supportive of what you're doing, or they're not here to support your business, or they aren't here to see you as your best selves. And going back to even that conversation that I mentioned earlier with Oprah and her students, she actually shared that if you don't surround yourself with like-minded, supportive individuals, you put yourself at risk of being around people who will project their own limitations onto you. So I want you to think about some distant cousin that you have that's not quite in the mindset that you are in, and the way that they might speak about you. So they push their fears onto you. And then in turn, what happens is that it turns into a bit of attacking, where they're fearful and they're afraid because what you are showing to them or reflecting to them is not in alignment with who they think they are, meaning they don't see much going on for themselves. And I don't want to say much, guys, but They don't see the things that you see that can actually happen for you, right? So they don't see that happening for them. And then they push that on you by saying things like, girl, who do you think you are? Or you act this way, or you act that way. As opposed to when you are around people in alignment who are actually working towards similar things that you're working towards, they understand what you're going through. And those people are supportive. They are in alignment with what you're doing. They're excited about what you're doing, and they're excited to support you in what you're doing. For me, I have a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of, but I have some internet friends who are so goal oriented and so driven that when we speak, it's like fireworks. And so you need to find that tribe that you can align yourself with, who are, those people are willing to lift you because they are lifted. Ooh. Listen, they are willing to lift you because they themselves are lifted. You guys are on a similar journey, right? So you're not reflecting to them something that they don't recognize or they don't understand. You guys aren't attacking each other because you both know that you're on a journey towards a better place. And then when you think about it, the same thing goes towards the trolls that you might be so afraid of in your future who aren't even here yet. So when you think about them, if they see you operating in your zone of genius, you might be making them uncomfortable as well. So they might be protecting their own ego and emotions when it comes to whatever it is you're doing. And that's why you got to take, or you have to take, I said you got to take, but girl, listen, when I get passionate, I start going in, but you have to take people's criticism with a grain of salt, right? Like, you can't take that too seriously. You got to keep on journeying. Listen, don't get me wrong. We do have constructive criticism out there. But if you don't take anything else from this episode, what I want you to take is that we are all here playing for the long game. If you're playing for the short game of acceptance and likes and everybody loving you, then you're playing the wrong game. If you are playing for the long game of service and how you're going to change the world and how you are contributing to the bigger conversation in your industry, then you're on the right track. And when you think about things like service and, that you are operating from your zone of genius and that this is your true calling, this is a thing that you were put here to do. This is whatever it is that you're doing in your business is filled with purpose and impact and all of those things. Then you understand that I'm playing for the long game, and what I want, or all the good that I want in life, does not come without the bad, quote unquote, the bad, which means that if you want $1 million, it's not going to come without people responding to your product that you're selling with customer service concerns, or it's not going to come without people that probably don't like you because of the polarity that we mentioned earlier, meaning that they don't agree with what you're saying. And that's okay, as long as you're operating from your intuition, like the thing that you know is right, the thing that you feel is right. That's what's really most important. And that's what I want to leave you with. So even though we expect amazing things, you have to understand that you can't be afraid of what might come with those amazing things, because that's just part of the journey. And if you're playing for the long game, if you are playing with a connection to your bigger vision, to your spiritual vision, to the vision of purpose and impact, and to the vision of living in service and serving people, then when you think about that, when you think about it in that way, like your business in that way and what you're doing in that way, then people will see you win and people will see you fail. But staying connected to the bigger picture is really super essential. It's really what is going to keep you grounded, and it's really what is going to keep you pushing. So all in all, guys, I really wanted to talk about just the fear of success, fear of failure, fear of people seeing you win, fear of people seeing you fail, and all that jazz. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be around. But what makes a true difference is your commitment to the long journey, and your commitment to service, and your commitment to impact and purpose, and operating in love or for the love of what you do. I hope this made sense. I really hope so. Definitely check the show notes to see what I have down there. And thank you for listening. I love you for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Matter of fact, I will see you next week on the podcast. Talk to you later. Bye bye.